Thank you very much, Katie. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are in our beautiful country. This will not be an hour long, so I'm going to save you about 20, 30 minutes of what your anticipated time was on this Friday the 13th. So you just got a little lucky on Friday the 13th. Let me bring over my presentation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some couple slides, talk to you about implementing a mobile time entry service for your firm, and then do a quick demo and answer all of your questions. Now, we've studied long and hard how to implement any type of technology into legal. The rules I'm going to give you for this is not just for mobile time entry, but it's the rules that we follow and abide by as a company, because what we're looking for is not just to bring technology to firms, but have that technology adopted. You can bring those horses to water, but you can't make them drink. Our mission is to make them drink, and you'll see how we do that here. So again, these rules that I'm going to show you and these methodologies, please implement them and think about them long and hard as you implement any technology in legal. So I've probably talked to a lot of you over the years. We've been with Juris for many years. iTimeKeep has been available for the Juris Suite side of the product, and I've been at all the ALA shows over the years, and I'll be with Katie actually next week in Las Vegas. I hope some of you are coming to the National User Group meeting, which I'm a little scared because St. Patrick's Day is the 17th, and we'll be in Vegas at a conference. I think that's a little funny. But before we discuss anything about implementing mobile, let's first understand the why. Time entry is a worldwide problem with every breathing timekeeper. It's not just specific to legal. It's just the worst in legal because attorneys bill very aggressively and they bill at a very high rate. So why is your firm losing time? Do you think the attorneys are to blame? Are we automating procrastination with like these time capture tools that are available? Is it because the firms do not promote, enforce, and enable contemporaneous time entry? The answer is yes, yes, and yes. So what I'd like you to do right now is strap on your seatbelts, and if you're squeamish, you may want to look the other way. We're going to take a stroll through the minds of attorneys and understand the various different types of these creatures. So the first one that we come across is the focused attorney. They have their blinders on. It's law, 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 law. That's all I can do is I practice law. I don't have time for anything else. And it kind of correlates with the super busy attorney. I have to get this contract out. I have an emergency pleading. I'm late for a depot. I'm running my wife to the doctor. My house is on fire. And again, reasons for not entering their time. Then we have the efficient attorney, and you've heard many of this. I hate our system. Who in the world designed this piece of so-and-so? Takes me 20 minutes for Citrix to start. I wish I was a programmer. I could build this the right way. And then we have the creative attorney, and this is one of my favorites. I have a better method. It has worked for me for 10 years. I type my time into Word, email it to my assistant, who can then manually enter the time for me. It is a perfect method. It has worked for me for years. I wish others would follow my example. The world would be a better place. And then we have the reconstructive attorney, and I think this is the majority of attorneys. They look through hundreds, if not thousands of emails. They scour their calendar. They search for tiny slips of paper in various pants pockets, dressers and dresser drawers, car cup holders. I've heard firsthand of attorneys reviewing other attorneys' pre-bills or pro formas to see if they were in the meeting with them, and then they enter their time. Obviously, it's a month late, and you just scratch your head at this practice. But you hear from them, I know, I'll get better next month. Little do they know they're spending the most time, usually upwards of 5 hours a month, just to record their time. And they're the ones leaking the most time. So it takes them a lot of time to enter their time, and I call it forensically fabricate, and they always look at me when I say the word fabricate, but if you're putting your time in at the end of the month, you're absolutely fabricating something. We have the experienced attorney, a.k.a. the silverback, a.k.a. the curmudgeon. I have been doing my pink slip time entry for 25 years. Why in the world would I change that now? What I would like to say to them is that we do not have to rub two sticks together to create fire anymore. There really is a better way. What they don't know here is that sometimes the writing's illegible and decipherable. And there could be up to 6 interactions just for one time entry as you go back and forth. This is usually the younger ones, the hopeful attorney. Next month I'm going to start writing my time down as I do things. Oh my gosh, I really promise. And then we have a new entrance. This is the newest species found predominantly in litigation, defense law, and intellectual property. There are so many rules for my clients. I'm a lawyer first. How can I possibly do my job and remember all these rules that my clients are giving me? So, and if you guys can think of any more types, please get them to me. I'm going to show you my name at the end. I'd love to add them. This list has grown from me talking to firms over the last 5 years and just learning of the different types of non-timekeeping attorneys, if you will. So pretty much every firm I talk to, and that includes our 800 plus firms worldwide using iTimeKeep and the couple hundred more that are going to be joining us in the next couple months and over the year, they have some sort of time entry policy in place, or at least a semblance of a policy. Unfortunately, enforcing these policies is a never-ending battle, and the good guys, you, are falling way behind. How many of your firms have annual management or partner retreats where the direction of the firm is decided for the upcoming year? They buoy themselves, we're going to knock it out of the park, we're really tightening up everything. The retreaters come back fully energized with these great ideas. But just like New Year's resolutions, everything turns back to status quo in very short order. Same thing, same result every time. So you might have known this guy, Mr. Einstein. He's not known just for his bagels, but he's known for saying something very profound, doing the same thing, expecting a different result. You're an idiot, right? So every year we do the same thing, cajoling the attorneys to enter their time in a more efficient manner and timely manner. Every year we revert back to the same old headaches, right? I think that is why you're here today. We need to be disruptive. We need to find a different way, a different method. But it's very important to understand the mind of the attorneys. So which are you? I always like to ask my firms, I used to ask, what are your time entry policies? And then it dawned on me that was a stupid question. What are your theoretical and practical policies? Because in theory, you have this set of rules. We want our time in by X. But in practicality, that doesn't happen. So daily, I hear that. I've got some firms that they want their time in by the next day at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock. I go, seriously? How do you, with the attorneys being so mobile, how can they stop? They're just running. They're on a marathon sprint these days. How can you get them to stop and do that? It's so darn inefficient. And then we have all the other policies, because we're asking the attorneys who work from everywhere they are, everywhere they breathe, the car, the train, the bus, soccer game, at home, at dinner, traveling, even on vacation. They're working everywhere but the office. Even when we're walking down, think of this. And if you're mindful while you're walking around your firm, if an attorney gets up out of their desk and walks to another colleague's office, they possibly could be doing something on their handheld devices, on their iPhones, iPads, or whatever they have, typically iPhones and Androids, but they're working, and then they go in and talk to their colleague, and they've just lost that time. So they're truly mobile as soon as they get out of their seat and they're walking. So you have weekly, monthly, time is due by X number of days past the due date, the end of the month, so pre-bills and pro formas can be run. There's firms with no policies. But you have a policy, but does that really work? But they're falling behind because they're doing the same thing and expecting different results. So at the end, it's common sense, right? It is the attorneys that do not get it, but they do get it, however. The thing to remember here, folks, is that common sense does not equate to common action. And I can give you a couple examples of what I mean. Would you be surprised if I told you that smoking leads to cancer, that we should exercise daily, we should eat less red meat and more vegetables and fruits, we should do good for others? And there's a book out there called The Happiness Advantage, and I love this author. I highly recommend you get it and read it. The Happiness Advantage by Sean Achor, A-C-H-O-R. He poses the question, but does this common knowledge make doing things any easier? And he answers, of course not, because in life, common knowledge is just part of the battle. If this was true, attorneys would all put their time in daily, right? Because at the end, it would make the firm more profitable and the attorneys more successful. Common knowledge, but it doesn't common action, and that's where we come in with trying to get into the heads of the attorneys. So we at Bellefield have written a number of articles, which you may find on our website, that highlight the importance of excellence and good habits. Good habits are hard to sustain. Attorneys, like all normal humans, are creatures of habit. I laugh every time I say that. Are creatures of habit, and they find comfort in that, comfort in habit. Even if they know it causes inefficiencies and lost revenue for the firm, how many of you have already abandoned your best intentions for the New Year's? You have the intention of doing it, but you can't make it a habit. Because habits are like financial capital. Forming a good one today is an investment that will automatically give out returns for years to come, says Achor in his books. So how do we change these habits? This is the fun part where we're getting to. Habits are formed with practice. You may have heard the term practice makes perfect. And if any of you are golfers, there's a very famous short game coach. He's Phil Mickelson's coach, called Dave Pelz, who I just love this guy. And he just instills in his students that practice makes perfect. If you repeatedly do it, you're going to get it perfect in any type of situation. So as we look at this, we think it's technology. So poor technology can be, or I will say poor technology is the problem. We have to give the attorneys good, solid technology. But what does that mean? So there's a premise in the book called activation energy, and I want to introduce you to it, because anything you introduce to your firm, or anything you introduce to your family, you really need to think about what the activation energy is. And let me give you the definition of it. Activation energy is the amount of effort we need to put in order to get started with an activity or task. The more activation energy that is required, the harder it is to get started. Makes a lot of sense, right? The dirtier your garage gets, the less likely you are to clean it, because it's taking more activation energy for you to get off your butt. So take your remote control for your TV, for instance. You come home, you plop your butt in your favorite chair, and you turn the TV on because your remote's right there in the chair. What if you remove the batteries and put them in a kitchen drawer? It would take a lot more effort or activation energy to zombie out for a couple hours in front of the TV. This is exactly what the author of The Happiness Advantage did. He wanted to learn to play the guitar, and it's a known fact that you have to do something to change a habit 21 days in a row. So he put 21 X's on a piece of paper, and every day he was going to practice the guitar. He was going to put an X on the paper. 3 weeks later, he looks at his list. There's only 3 X's on it. And then he introspectively figured it out. He was going home, sitting in his chair, not grabbing for the guitar, but grabbing for the closest thing, which was the remote. So he took the batteries out, put them in the kitchen drawer, put his guitar next to the chair. He'd come home from work, plop his butt down, grab the guitar. At the end of this time, he had 21 X's next to his on his sheet. So what if we can lower or almost eliminate the amount of activation energy it takes for a given task? And this is where the 20-second rule comes in. I know you all are familiar with the 5-second, you drop some food on the floor rule. This is not that. Here's the rule. To lower your activation energy to 20 seconds or less for habits you want to promote, increase it for those you want to avoid. In the previous example, the author brought the guitar closer, lowering your activation energy, and he made it harder to turn on a TV. You had to go root through one of those drawers with a bunch of stuff in it. But it's important to note, this is very important, every additional choice people are asked to make, even if they are small, depletes our energy a little further until we just don't have enough anymore to continue with the positive habits we're trying to adopt. So we need to be cognizant of what we're asking our people to do and the changes we want to make them. We have a limited amount of activation energy. So here's a good example. So these 3 guys, we all know who they are. We've got Steve Jobs, God rest his soul. We have Mr. Zuckerberg, head of Facebook, and our President Obama. They all have something very much in common. And it's not that they're famous. What they have in common is they wear practically the same clothes every day. Steve Jobs in his famous mock turtleneck, Mr. Zuckerberg, a billionaire that wears his hoodies, and President Obama, he has said that he can blindly reach into his closet, pull something out, it's going to match, because he doesn't want to have to make decisions. And this is why they do that, because what they're trying to do is pare down their decisions. They want to preserve their activation energy for things that are important to them, because they're making pretty darn, or Steve doesn't anymore. He's probably still in his mock turtleneck. I think he might have been buried in his mock turtleneck. But it's important, and this is part and parcel with what I'm trying to get to. So then we take this into time entry. Especially mobile time entry must follow the 20-second rule. Actually, here at Bellefield with iTimeKeep, we're looking more, not 20 seconds, but more 6 to 12 seconds. Because anything you do on a phone, we're used to, it has to be very quick and it has to work flawlessly. No waiting. If you have to wait any at all, you just leave the app because we get very frustrated. It's who we come. So think about that. Just seconds to create and enter a time entry. Contrast that with what they're doing now and the huge amount of activation energy that's required. No wonder you all have a house full of terrible timekeepers. The practice of law has changed ever since the BlackBerry came out. The attorneys are not just sitting at their desk talking on a phone with a wire to the wall and doing things in bigger chunks of time. Ever since the BlackBerry came out, the amount of small time entries, 0.1s, 0.2s, and into the 0.3s have gone through the roof because they're managing all of these little communications. It's insane. We truly do live in an environmentally ADD society. We all have it. If you guys had your speakers on or your microphones on and I heard a ding from your somebody got a text message, I would look at my phone. I know it's not my phone, but I still look at my phone. It's who we've become. I've opened up a browser, and I'm telling you all have done this too, I hope. You open up a browser. Actually, I hope you didn't, but I know you all have. You open up a browser, and in the millisecond it takes you to go to where you're going, you forgot where you're going. Could you imagine? It's just a tenth of a second, and that's how quickly we're losing our thought process. And it's not because we're going crazy. It's because we have so much on our mind in the amount of information that we have. And this is so much more so for attorneys. So we all know the contemporaneous time entry. And what contemporaneous time entry is you do it and you record it, right? Contemporaneous, do it at the same time. We all know that contemporaneous time entry, recording time at the time of service while still fresh in the mind, is the only method of truly accurate time entry. Time capture, on the other hand, is where additional software is installed at your firm on everything possible from fax machines, every one of your devices. It's a very crazy installation with the intent to predict attorneys' activities and to aggregate these activities, and later attorneys get a report with all this information to sort out and review. What do you think the activation energy is to start the process each and every time for this time capture or even time reconstruction? It's just like studying for a final. The more you wait, the less you want to do it, right? Where if we can get them to put their time in contemporaneously and give them an easy way to do it with low activation, then we're going to change their habits. It's putting the guitar next to the chair. So with iTimeKeep, we have reduced the activation energy not only for the attorneys, but for all who touch it. And this is important to note. It's not obviously with adoption and with the product, it's important that the user wants to use it and we're cognizant of their activation energy. But there's other constituencies within law firms, you being some of them. I don't know what your positions are there, but if on the attorney side, we take the path of least resistance. So it's for every device and every browser, very important because you have the BYOD, maybe somebody has an Android, Surface, who knows what they have. There needs real-time integration with Juris. So if a matter is created in Juris, it needs to be immediate, no batching, no waiting. It needs to be immediately available. Attorneys travel, maybe they're overseas, and a matter is created. They need to be able to see it immediately on their devices. I'm slapping my hand if you can't hear that, for emphasis. And when you hit submit, and you're entering that time, it needs to immediately go into Juris without any waiting. That's who we are now, and that's where we live, and that's the technology that we have available. And then we look at IT. It's important. They have an activation energy thought, right? It can't be a very long and drawn out, and we'll talk a little bit about the installation with Juris and how simple it is in a minute. But there should be no additional software or hardware to buy. It needs to be up and running as quickly as possible. No maintenance. No, from a security and risk standpoint, no open ports and no storing data. We don't store data on the devices. If anybody tries to sell you an application of any sort that stores data on the device, run away as fast as you can. You spend a lot of money on your firewalls, a lot, and you do that to protect your clients' information, and it's a liability issue for you. Now, if they want to now get the data outside of your firewall and leave it on these ticking time bombs, run the other way. We specifically do not store any data on the device. As soon as you leave my app, it wipes it clean. And the other thing for IT is always involved in these long, drawn-out, processed installations of something at the firm. What we like to do is go and say, hey, look, we'll give you a quick win. You can install this. Can be installed in an hour. You really don't even need to do anything. You put a smile on your attorney's face because they finally have a way to put their time in that they like, and it's a quick win. And then finance. We can't leave the finance out of this. So what we look at is better compliance, because if we have contemporaneous time entry, they're putting their time in a timely manner, right? You have more accuracy. Your minimization of time leakage, because there's no way you can remember 3 weeks from now. You're just not going to. It's impossible. Which involves increased revenues. I have a lot of my firms love the fact that their interim pro formas, these reports they need to run for some of their clients, are now more accurate. If the attorneys aren't putting their time in the end of the month, and you run a report in the middle of the month, it's just going to be blank. And we work very hard with providing automated reports delivered to whatever the administrator is of our product on a regular basis, because we want to prove efficacy of it, how much is being used, how much time is being put in on weekends, how much time out between 7 and 8 a.m., how many more point ones, and so forth. So iTimeKeep is truly time entry as a service. And you guys probably know what software as a service is. It's where you log online and you buy software. You're actually using software. You're not even really buying it anymore. And if you think about it, everything is going to this service model. I would posit that your law libraries are kind of now echoey and vacant. Nobody uses the law libraries anymore. I was just down in Baltimore, Maryland at a very nice firm, not large, about 75 attorneys, a beautiful law library, and they're tearing it up and they're making it into, it almost looks like a Starbucks. They're these great, I saw the detailed plans for it, these beautiful, a place to go and sit, but they've gotten rid of all the books. Because why? We have research as a service. You just log in, you go to Westlaw or wherever, it's research as a service. Think of music. I'll age myself. I used to buy albums, vinyl, 8-tracks, cassettes, CDs. I don't do that anymore. I've got Pandora. You can have Spotify or Sirius XM flowing through the house. You have music as a service. And that's what we've done with time entry. It's time entry as a service. It needs to be user-centric. Attorneys do not have to be bogged down with complexity or useless features. If somebody tries to sell you, and then another note here, if somebody tries to sell you an app that does a lot of things, run the other way. Because if you look at the apps on your phones that you use, they're the ones that are very fast. They do one thing and you can get out of it. And my litmus test for apps is, can I walk across a busy street using the app? If you have to navigate through some things, run the other way, they're not going to use it and the adoption will be low because it takes too much activation energy. And simplicity. Welcome to the world of less is more, which I was just alluding to. No long drawn out or multi-day or multi-week implementations. You want to have an app attorneys want to use. Zero overhead. We do everything we can to ensure that adopting our solutions comes at no additional internal cost to your firm. We take care of everything. That's part of this service model, and that's what we're going to. It used to be you would buy an add-on, and there's a lot of professional services involved. Not anymore. Any device, iTimeKeep provides the same experience, whether it's on the iPad, the iPhone, Android. We have a browser version which is agnostic, meaning from any browser. You can log into iTimeKeep and see whatever you've done on the devices or within Juris. The attorneys have the power to enter their time from wherever they are. And always up. Obviously, that's important. Time entry must work anywhere for 24/7 and on any devices, period. The last thing you want is phone calls. So simple, simple, simple. And this will be the simplest implementation you've ever experienced. The rollout process is, and this is even long. We did a 600 attorney firm and it took less than 2 hours. So we have a kickoff meeting, firm completes prerequisites, which Juris does for you. I type install admin and training, we onboard the attorneys, and you go live. It's minutes, not hours. Let's do a quick demo of iTimeKeep. I'm going to fire up my phone here. Give me 1 second to do so. Now, if you have iPhones, iPads, or Androids, you can download iTimeKeep for free and do exactly the same demo I'm going to show you here now. So I'm going to show you my phone in just a minute with any luck. Come on, baby. There we go. So let me bring it over to my other screen. Come on over here. There it is. And for the sight impaired, I'll make it bigger, which is me. So you can download iTimeKeep from the Google Play Store or for the Apple Store for free. And I have an instance of Juris running here. I'm talking to you from lovely Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where it's finally above freezing. And you can log into my instance of Juris and do the same demo I'm showing you. So iTimeKeep is the icon that's down on the bottom left. And you can see these are the apps that I use all the time. And they're all couple banking apps, some travel apps. But I have hundreds of apps. I never use these. They're too complicated. These are the ones I use. These are my go-to apps. I use Weather Channel a couple times a day. So iTimeKeep's down on the bottom left. I'm going to launch iTimeKeep. Now what I would like you to do is log in as a guest, and you can see those words down at the bottom. So I'm going to touch login as a guest. It's going to validate me as a user. First time you use iTimeKeep, it's going to give you a little welcome screen, a little how do you do. We'll skip beyond that because I'm going to show you how to use it. So if the attorney has to think when using iTimeKeep, I have failed. We don't want any thinking going on. We just want them to do. Low activation energy. So we want to add time, plus sign in the top right. Remember, there's no data on my phone because we don't store any data on my phone. When I touch that word that says matter, it's going to go out and grab the matters I've worked on in the last 30 days. And there's three little cheater matters here, if you will. So you see Staffy versus Kuntz. I'm kind of pointing to the screen. You can't see me pointing. Staffy versus Kuntz, 3, 2, and 0. That means how many fields come along with the matter. If you don't do task-based billing, choose a 0. Just for kicks, I'm going to choose the 3. Staffy versus Kuntz 3 because it'll validate that matter and build out 3 fields. It should build out 3 fields. There they go. So we'll leave the date as today. Say I just took a 12-minute phone call, and this is a task-based matter. And I'm in California. There's a lot of places in California they want location codes for taxation. So I'll pick Los Angeles where it's nice and warm. Now we need a description. I can type something in. But like every attorney, I love the sound of my voice, so I'm going to hit the little microphone next to the space bar you see there. Reviewed client email regarding settlement period. It is 42 degrees here in Pittsburgh. I'll be heading to the conference in Las Vegas on Sunday where I think it's going to be 90 degrees, exclamation point. Pretty cool. Save. I want to submit this to Juris. Submit. And any questions you have, start asking them because we're going to wrap this up very shortly. I hit submit, and it's in Juris just like you typed it in there. This augments Juris Suite. It doesn't replace it. It augments it. So from anywhere the attorneys are, iPad, iPhone, Androids, or even a browser, they can log into iTimeKeep. They can enter their time as easy as I just showed you there within, what, 8 seconds it took me? So that back to the activation energy. Think how low that is compared to what they do now. Pretty awesome. And there's timers and there's other things that we can get into now, but just to save time for you all, I'll finish up my presentation by bringing this back over here. I'll get rid of you by bringing you over here, and we will finish playing. Okay, I said finish playing. There we go. So that was a demo of iTimeKeep. Now you can do that same demo, and I challenge you to download it to your phone, stick it in an attorney's face, let them use the dictation. Now one note, I learned about 2 years ago that telling attorneys that if attorneys give their time to their assistant, you can't argue with them. And I would tell them how dumb that is, how inefficient that is, and my problem with me is I was arguing with an attorney. What I learned, though, was I would ask them, how do you give it to your assistant? I put it in Word, I do this, I do the other thing, and I'll say, look, let me show you how you can dictate it to your assistant. Da-da-da-da, you make the time entry, you hit submit, your assistant can now see it. All of a sudden, they're all happy, and they think it's the greatest thing that's since sliced bread. We let them have our way. So that was iTimeKeep in action. Any questions? I'll show you my contact information here in a minute. But let's finish up here. So how do you buy a product? What is important to you? So that's the most important thing. What's important to you with the product? Finding the right solution, implementation, and user engagement. Wait a minute. What the heck's user engagement? This is what something we've been working on for the last 2 years that completely sets us apart from most legal vendors. We don't just sell you iTimeKeep, provide you iTimeKeep. That's just the beginning of our relationship, because we have hundreds and hundreds of very smart firms that have many different programs to help engage the attorneys, because obviously if they put their time in contemporaneously, it's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to the firm. So why is engagement important? How do you do it? This is where we come in with a blank slide. So don't worry, we have you covered. First thing we want to do is engage the staff, because that's very important. We help you create excitement and buzz around iTimeKeep, because it doesn't just benefit the attorneys and more the bottom line by a significant increase in revenues. You may become deaf and maybe a little blind to the angst time entry causes with the staff. I have heard war stories over and over again from countless staff members about how insane it gets when 2 or 3 or maybe 4 attorneys drop off time entries on someone's desk saying they needed to be done by some short time frame like the end of the day. It's insane. Creates a lot of issues, and if we can mitigate some of those issues, we make a happier morale at the firm. incentivize and encourage. We've created many incentive programs to increase adoption and promote usage. We have what's called an adoption kit, which we can get into a later time, but it's a beautifully branded box full of all types of goodies to help to remind the attorneys in a variety of friendly ways to put their time in, and that iTimeKeep is available. There's a great and easy way to do it. Many of hundreds of firms who use iTimeKeep have shared with us the different programs, and some are quite unique. So we share those best practices with you. It's a very open source, if you will. Measure, measure, measure. Early in my career, I had the pleasure of working with Michael Dell for 13 years. His mantra to everybody he worked with was, if it can be made better, if it can be measured, it can be made better. The reason being is that you cannot improve if you don't know where the time came from or where the data came from. You cannot fix a problem if you do not know that it is a problem. We have taken measurement to new levels, exactly what you need to manage without being confusing. Remember, we know that activation energy, and we don't want to overburden you with data. We give you the data you need. And I mentioned some of that time entry on weekends, time entry after 7, the increase in point 1s and point 2s. How are they using it, and how can we take that data and get others to use it at your firm, which is very, very important. And something else we've done, we've started a giving back program because in our research, we found that giving something to an attorney for doing a good job, or there's certain attorneys that are incentivized in different ways, and some of them like to give back. Some of them are pretty philanthropic, and so we've added this step to it, which is new. We have an incentive program which give back to those organizations which are near and dear to the hearts of the attorneys. This user-defined program will give back a percentage of the cost of the adoption kits to the nonprofits important to y'all, whether it be Wounded Warriors, the Komen Fund, Animal Friends. You tell us, and we're there to help you and encourage supporting of those efforts. So we're getting into the heads of the attorneys. We're helping incentivize them in ways that are important to them, and we're keeping iTimeKeep at the forefront throughout your firm through the adoption kits that we have, and they've been very successful. So Juris new customer process is extremely simple. You purchase iTimeKeep from either us or directly from the Juris rep, whether it's Ken, Kendra, or Amy, or just give me a call or us a call here at Bellefield. The Juris support installs iTimeKeep on your Juris Suite server. Takes a couple minutes. We have a kickoff meeting with you with one of our dedicated success managers, walks you through what to expect, manages expectations, and shares with you understands your culture, and then shares with you the best practices that we've learned from our many hundreds of clients, just to make sure we have a successful kickoff. And then you all enjoy the benefits of iTimeKeep. And we like to, we put smiles on attorneys' faces and dollars in the coffers. So thank you. That was pretty quick. About 35 minutes. I told you I'd save you between 20 and 30 minutes. Now this is how you can get a hold of me. My name's John Kuntz, and it's john@bellefield.com, and that's my direct dial number. Feel free to call it. Obviously, I'm very passionate about what I do, and I love to talk about what I do. And I'm here to help you solve your time entry problems. And the rules that I shared with you, the activation energy, the book, The Happiness Advantage, please go out and get that book and think about that when you're implementing any technology or any new practice or workflow in the firm. It's very important to the success of it. So I will turn it over to Katie. I don't know why my voice was up when I said that, but it did.
It happens. No worries. Well, first off, John, thank you so much for your very informative session. This does conclude the presentation portion of our webinar. As a reminder, if you do have any questions, and I know many of you do because we have tons coming in, please feel free to ask them via the questions pane located on your webinar control panel. So I'm going to go ahead and kick us off with the questions. Our very first one is, this looks good, but is it typically just for younger attorneys?
That's a pretty good question. We thought it would be, typically because the young attorneys are coming out of the chute. But what I found out is that attorneys are not technology adverse. They're not technology adverse at all. You have I don't know how many old attorneys I've talked to, and they're showing me pictures of their grandkids on their iPads and iPhones. They're stinky technology adverse. You give them something that's easy to use, like iTimeKeep, they're going to use it. So I do have, here's a guy right here. So this is a Juris firm in Texas. I always visit my, let me see if I can make this a bigger picture. I always visit my firms. I was in his building, and I was with another prospect, and I walk in, and I knock on the door, and, hey, I'm John Kuntz, founder of Bellefield. How we doing? This young lady comes running out of the office, grabs me around, just almost picks me up, looking at me, goes, I love you, I love you. I'm all red in the face, I'm embarrassed. I'm sorry, who are you? She goes, oh, I'm Amy, I'm Brian Lee's assistant. You've saved my life. So I said, I need to meet Brian. So it's Brian, he's one of the premier M&A attorneys in Dallas. And I said, Brian, Amy says you like my product, what's going on? And I turned my phone on. I said, I have my phone on, I'm going to record whatever you say. This is like 10 seconds, and this is what he said. Let me turn my volume up.
All right, so John, I just want to tell you, I've been practicing law 35 years, and since I started using your program, it's the longest stretch of time that I have consecutively entered my time daily in all those 35 years. It's a great product.
So that's pretty cool. So here's a guy practicing 35 years, and according to Amy, he's never entered his own time. He always gave it to her to do, but we did the same thing. You want to give it to me? Just dictate it to me, and I have it. I can see it in Juris immediately. And he's in love with it. He doesn't have to. He can fly now because they're so busy. So no, the answer is no. You'll be. I'm shocked at the number of older attorneys that have just taken iTimeKeep by storm.
Oh, that's
Next question.
fabulous. All right, well, we have our next question is, can this be integrated, interfaced with Time Matters? We use Time Matters entry to get the information into Time Matters and Juris.
Absolutely. Just give me a call, and I'll tell you how to do that, or I'll help you do that.
Fabulous. Our next question is, can you enter a time entry without a matter? Love the recent matters. Does this pull from Juris Suite, or is it populated from data entered into iTimeKeep?
No, we asked 3 questions, and I said no. It pulls the data. It pulls the data in real time from Juris Suite. For security reasons, we do not keep any data ever outside of your firewall. And if anybody ever offers to do that, it's another run the other way one. So we pull it in real time from Juris Suite. You cannot enter time to a non-matter. If you have, if you create a, if you have an almost client, you haven't actually cleared conflicts or something, but want to add that time, what I suggest is you have a fake matter, a faux matter, or a temp matter that that they can add time to. And if you call me or email me, please, or just it'd be better to call me. I can answer that more distinctly for your particular needs.
Okay, fabulous. Our next question is, we use Juris Core. Does it require Juris Suite to use the app?
It does. The integration that Lexis put together was with Juris Suite.
All right, fabulous. Our next question is, do you have to submit an entry in order for Juris to pick it up?
Yes. But there's 2 things you do. First, you create the time entry within iTimeKeep, and if you recall, there was a blue dot next to it, just like unread email. So our attorneys are running so quickly. Maybe they just said in the description, phone call, and then later on in the day they'll go in. They have not submitted it to Juris yet. They'll pull that back up and then put a proper description in there, and then hit submit. You don't have to submit them individually. You can hold them in mass for a while. But it's a 2-phase process. Created an iTimeKeep, and then when you submit, all you're doing is handing it off to Juris, and it's in there as unfinalized, unrealized time. And so it's still editable. I need to practice that word. In Juris. What we did, Katie, is we don't want to change the workflow. We're adding this, we're augmenting what Juris Suite does by giving this utility to enter time from wherever they are. But just same with activation energy. You'll hear me say this time and time again. If we change the workflow too much, then it gets a little confusing and they're less likely to use it. Adoption is paramount to us.
Awesome. That's fabulous.
Thank you.
Oh, well, our next question is, most attorneys have iPhones, but does it work on any type of phone?
Virtually any type of phone, iPhones, iPads, Androids. We are launching a Windows service here shortly, and with the Surface, because they're gaining some good prominence. And you can also use iTimeKeep on the new BlackBerries, the Q and, as they say in Canada, Z10, Z10. We're
Awesome.
agnostic. Whatever attorneys are using, we're going to make iTimeKeep available for, as long as there's a business case for it.
Fabulous. The next one, and we still have a few more questions. So, what if they don't submit and leave the entered time entries on their phone?
You know, we wondered about that. That'll never happen, because you have to. If you can't partially submit time entries. When you hit submit, it submits them all. Because what we want is contemporaneous time entry. Even if the time entry is wrong, if it's submitted, it can be made right. If it's never submitted, then that's money lost. So the workflow that we came up with after studying attorneys for thousands of hours is create the time entry, let it be submitted, get it into Juris, everything is safe. And it's in our iTimekeepers are putting in an average of 1.68 more hours a week with it than they did before it. And that's not, it's worth hundreds of thousands to the firm, but when you think about it, this is a couple .1s and .2s. So we just want the time to get put in so it's not lost. Because right now, a lot of times, so I mean, you just think, so you're sitting at dinner and you do something for a client and you hear somebody else's phone ding go off, you just forgot. I mean, our minds are a mess anymore because of technology. So we need to give them ways to make it better, easier, faster.
Gotcha. Now, our next question is, does submitting a time entry put it in recorded status in Juris? Or I guess that's a pending approval, correct? I think
yes, it's in different, people call it different things. It's unfinalized, still open, so it's not closed time yet. So I guess that would be, I don't know if you all call it pending or not. It's if you create a time entry in Juris Suite and hits enter, that's exactly the way it is with us. It's just like you did that. We're augmenting the way you put time in Juris Suite now.
Fabulous. So do you have to have a smartphone or tablet to use iTimeKeep?
That's a great question. So somebody gets a gold star for that question because nobody's ever asked it. You do not. Because we also have a browser version. So from any browser, and let me call one up here. So from this, I'm using Safari right now, and hopefully there's no terrible news. So you go to desktop.itimekeep.com. You can't find, sorry, what did I do, spell it wrong? Oh, yeah, I did. If you can spell properly, you'll get to here. So here's iTimeKeep on the desktop. No VPN or Citrix in, same thing, log in as a guest. And you want to see a matter, you just click here to get the matter. And it's because of the GoToMeeting, it's running a little slow. Plus sign to add time, you need a matter, here's those matters, pick the matter. Same thing, fill it out. Same thing, same flow. Or anything you did on the iPhone or iPad you would see here. This is where a lot of one unsubmitted entry, I want to go in and edit that. I just click on it, I can edit it. So this is where the paralegals use this a lot.
Awesome.
Great question. Gold star for that person.
Yeah, that was great. Our next question is, we have an associate who enters his time without client numbers but does not submit it until the end of the month. He goes back in and adds the clients at the end of the month. Would he be able to do that in iTimeKeep?
No, and we don't want him to do that. So this is so cool. So what he'll do is, because iTimeKeep's so much, the reason he does it that way is because it takes so much darn energy to enter time. If I can get my phone over there. So That's a picture of my grandson. So iTimeKeep. So what he'll do is plus sign. I have to pick a matter. If I don't put a matter in, it'll be an invalid time entry. So let me pick one without matter. Let me pick one 0. I'll go to Staffy versus Kuhn 0, so it doesn't have the task page. So what am I doing? Oh my God, this is so fast. We'll finally get this attorney to enter his time, not at the end of the month, but contemporaneously, period. Save. Submit. Done. So and it works in landscape mode. Keep turning my phone sideways. Just by the nature of how iTimeKeep works, he needs to pick a matter to put it. How much time is he spending correlating those matters at the end of the month? 2-3 hours? We just bought him 2-3 hours. One of those hours, pays for iTimeKeep for the whole year. So his return on investment is going to probably be 100x, 100 times return on investment if he uses iTimeKeep. Pretty big.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool.
And he has more family time. How much time do we have? We're getting there.
We still have a little over 10 minutes.
How many questions do you have left?
I think there's 6. 1, 2,
Okay,
3.
go. Let's do those first.
All right. The next question is about draft entries, where they're stored, and I guess how draft entries work.
Well, if a draft entry, you mean like we never store any client names, matter descriptions, or matter numbers outside of your firewall, because if you do that, your clients will be very angry with you. And if you're having any security audits, like some of my larger firms, I just had a 750-page security audit. Risk is number 1 with us in security, and this is the most secure way in the world to use a mobile technology. So everything's kept behind your firewall. You invest in your firewall, let's leave your client data behind there where it's nice and safe.
Awesome.
Next question.
Our next question is about the Apple dictation service and security. We have someone that is wondering if that's a risk because Apple sends, I guess,
to
data
North Carolina.
out.
You know, I've truth be told, of the almost 4 figures of firms worldwide that are using iTimeKeep, I've only had one firm in Blue Bell, Pennsylvania, opt out. And what I said to them was, do you allow your attorneys to use Siri on for their emails and text messages? Because text messages and emails are much more libelous than a little paltry time entry. And I have firms like, if you all know the famous big ones, Wachtell Lipton. They do the biggest M&A, mergers and acquisitions in the world, billion-dollar deals. They're using iTimeKeep. Another real famous one that I have is in D.C., and I love these guys for a specific reason. Stern Kessler, one of the most prominent intellectual property firms, because they're the only law firm in the world that has both Google and Apple as a client, which is insane because these are hated enemies. And Google and Apple both have offices in their building in D.C., and they use iTimeKeep and they use Siri. So they're much smarter than I am about intellectual property and things like that. And Wachtell Lipton, interestingly enough, we had to do something special for them because they won't put a description in the description field until after the deal closes. So so they don't even use, on certain matters, they won't even use a description. So it depends. But of the thousands of firms, or not thousands, of upwards of 1,000 firms that I have, it's only come up once in my career. And my answer to you is, if you let them use it on email, this is nothing. It's just paltry. So either turn it off, and they have to type everything in, is a firm policy, or not. So you can still use iTimeKeep, you just can't use Siri if that's your case. But that, I've never run across that other than that one firm in Blue Bell, Pennsylvania. Small firm, too, like 18 attorneys.
Gotcha. All right. Fabulous. And we still have some other questions coming in, but we're starting to get a little close on time. So just wanted to preface, once again, make sure you utilize John's contact info as well if we do not have a chance to get to your question today. Our next question is, does it have a note section to show in Juris Suite?
It does not. iTimeKeep is just like you see it. What we want is contemporaneous time entry. We want to get that time safe and sound in Juris Suite where we can bill a client. So its speed is very important. So we were very cognizant as we add other features. Like we've added timers. I didn't show you timers. Timers are in there. But we really, really test because we want that 8-second time entry. When we start doing notes, it starts getting into a Swiss Army knife, and we've opted away from that.
Fabulous. Our next question is, how do you pick a matter if it hasn't been selected in the last 30 days?
Great question. Thank you very much, and I'll do this very quickly. So iTimeKeep plus sign. I'm going to touch the matter. See at the top that little magnifying glass? I'm going to type in, remember this, Kilo Echo Lima for when you do your own. And I'm going to hit continue search on server. We have 500,000 matters in my database. I'm going to touch it right now. 1,000. In 1 second, it searched every matter I'm allowed to bill to, and any KEL and consecutiveness, if that's a word, is available. You see there's Jessical, which is one we didn't see before. So all you do is go into plus sign, matter, and the search entry at the top. I can even type in 1025. I can even say 1025. And it'll give me anything with 1025 in the matter number. Okay? Nope, there is one. Cool.
The next question is, can one attorney enter time on multiple devices at the same time?
Heck yeah. We are not here to limit. When you have an iTimeKeep subscription, you can actually grab my phone, log into iTimeKeep, enter your time. When you leave the app, it wipes it clean. That's part of our security model. So it doesn't really care. As long as you have a license, you can get to iTimeKeep from any device. Anybody's device, actually, because like I said, it wipes it clean. Good question.
Awesome.
Another gold star.
We've got some great ones. And next, what if an attorney is entering time and can't finish entering it? They get a phone call or get distracted. What happens when the app is closed and time, or it's not submitted?
That happens extremely irregularly, but it should still be there. As long as you just hit save. So if I were to get a phone call while creating a time entry, when you leave the phone call, the time entry will pop back up as far as you were.
Okay, so if you were to like hit the home button and then go back into it, it would still be there?
Yeah, like right now. So if I had I want to add a time entry, add time, or if I'm right here filling out this and I got a phone call, when I leave the phone call, this would pop back up.
Gotcha.
So you don't lose it.
All right, fabulous. What if your iPhone battery dies before you have submitted time slips for the day?
As long as you hit save, you can never lose them. Just turn your phone back on and they'll show up. Because remember, we're storing them behind your firewall, not on the phone. Good question, but you need to realize we don't store anything on the phone. So as soon as if you can go grab your iPad and log in on your iPad and you'll see it, or just go to the desktop version that I showed you earlier. Everything that you've created is right there.
Awesome.
You guys are trying to stump me today. Very good.
I know.
Well, Friday the
That's some
13th.
good ones.
You're going to have to try harder, though. Been doing it for
Absolutely.
5 long years.
Well, and I have a few questions about getting a guest login for a demo. And I'm guessing that people just need to contact you for more information.
No, actually, it's there
right?
already. Download the app, everybody. Download the app. Launch the app. At the bottom, it's going to say log in as a guest. Go ahead and touch that, and that'll validate you as a user into my Juris system here in Pittsburgh. Now, we do have integrations with the top 31 billing systems. This isn't just a Juris product, which gives us a lot of latitude in our development. This isn't just the couple thousand Juris users. This is where every billing attorney in the world can use iTimeKeep, and that's what gives the power of this in the breadth of the product. So please download it and log in as a guest. If you have any trouble at all, you see my phone number up there, please call me. I want to talk to you. I love to talk. I mean, can talk for another hour.
All right, fabulous. Well, I think that's about it. They're asking for the app information one more time.
iTimeKeep.
I'm guessing you can just search that in any app store, right?
You just go to, let's see, where's my app store? App Store. And you go down here to search at the bottom. At the top, I'm typing in iTimeKeep. iTimeKeep, hit search. There it is right there.
All right.
And just download it. It's free. It's free.
Makes it so easy. Okay, well, fabulous.
Low
Well,
activation energy, Katie. Low. Got to have that low activation energy.
Exactly. Oh, I know it's very key for me. So, well, I'm going to go ahead and conclude our webinar for the day. Once again, if we didn't get to your questions, I think I just had a few more come in. Please reach out to John at his contact info right there. And that officially concludes today's webinar. I would like to thank John once again for your expert advice on today's topic, and thank you to all of our attendees for taking time out of your very busy day to join us.